It's perhaps the most transformational upheaval of power at City Hall that we've seen in modern history in St. Louis, especially if you consider the corruption scandal that rocked City Hall last year, now with ward reduction and only 14 members of the Board of Aldermen taking the oath of office after the upcoming election. When you combine all of that, there is a lot of change happening at City Hall. Joining us now to help dig into and analyze some of that is current Alderwoman Cara Spencer. She is now on the record. It's good to have you with us, running for re-election in this newly drawn 8th Ward.
That's right. Thanks for having me today.
It's good to have you with us. When you look at this upcoming change on the horizon, how do you, for example, just the Charter Commission itself, there's a chance to rewrite basically the foundation or the constitution of the city. What's the potential there?
Well, there's a couple of things that we're talking about here. One, the reduction of the Board of Aldermen, which I think is an enormous opportunity for the city of St. Louis. Reducing the number of folks down there really can, streamline city government and can help us spend less time fighting, more time legislating, and getting more serious about the job of running the city of St. Louis.
Easier to ram something through with fewer people to oppose it.
Well, easier to get consensus. Right now
we say the same thing differently.
Well, we're often accused of having fiefdoms, and I think there's a lot to be said there. There really is a lot of power in each alderman's position, but the disbursement of power among 28 of us really kind of just scattershots it all around, and kind of streamlining it down to 14, I think, can really help us streamline some of those decisions that we make down there.
The mayor has an ally in Board of Aldermen President Megan Green. Mm-hmm. Do you worry that consolidating power like that gives the mayor more power over the board?
Well, look, I think we ought to have checks and balances. The Board of Aldermen is the legislative branch of city government, and I think it really should be an autonomous check and balance on the administrative aspect of city government, the mayor's office.
But there are 18 standing committees now, or 16?
We're going to have to revisit that, because we're going to have, with only 14 potential chairs.
We have more committees than members.
That's exactly right. So there'll be some jockeying around once the voters decide who's going to go down there. We'll have to figure out how the board is really structured, and that's an enormous opportunity in and of itself. The Charter Commission, which you mentioned, is a separate opportunity to really re-envision how our government is structured from a power perspective, and that's a really, really important opportunity for the public to weigh in on. I just got back from Detroit at the start of last month when we were looking at some of the things working well in that city's comeback, and they had just recently rewritten their city charter. Mm-hmm. One of the things that they added, there's a number of things, but one I'll point out is that when we first got off the plane and walked into City Hall on a Monday night, it was packed. And at the center was this guy. I thought I recognized him. Turned out it was the mayor. Mm-hmm. And he was fielding all kinds of questions, hearing all kinds of problems from his voters directly. Turns out they wrote that into the city charter 8 times a year, roughly every 6 weeks or so. The executive of the city, the mayor, has to sit there and directly meet with voters. Do you see value in that? I see enormous value in that. Look, I put my cell phone number on everything I put out, and I get calls every single day from people. And it's really, really helpful to hear not just what the folks that are on social media or that are out there at neighborhood association meetings, but are living their daily lives in our communities, what they're experiencing, what they think, what they feel, and what they're seeing, and what they see as the solutions to problems is enormously helpful in governing. Politics is always a factor in these elections, and Mayor Jones has been rather involved. I don't know there's ever been a time when a mayor has endorsed in nearly half of all the aldermanic races. She's endorsed in 6 races. One of them was in your race, but she's endorsing your opponent, Shedrick Kelly. You're also up against Ken Ortman. Were you hoping for her endorsement? Well, I think it's important to work with the mayor, and I have been doing that to the best of my ability, given the fact that I ran against her just 2 years ago. And I did seek that out. I was disappointed that she decided to get involved in the race, but hey, it's politics, and I feel good about the voters in the 8th Ward making their own decision. We're at the halfway point, nearly, of Tishaura Jones' first term in office. How's she doing? Oh, that's a loaded question. Look, the city has a lot of challenges right now. We are at a very critical point for our city. We have been losing population and businesses downtown 4 years now, and that loss is getting even greater right now. We've lost 15,000 people in just the last 2 years, and this is a hemorrhaging of our tax base and our community that the city we really can't survive through. So we've got to turn some of that around, and we've got to start delivering better city services to the taxpayers that really, frankly, deserve them.
I was in the room when Mayor Jones last week called for Kim Gardner to take accountability and to do some serious soul searching and decide if she wanted to remain the city's prosecutor. Without getting into conjecture here, just my read on her body language, and it looked difficult for her to make a statement like that. It was a public rift, a public split. I think she knew those were high stakes in making a claim like that. What did you see? Was that a necessary step for the mayor to take?
I can't speak for the mayor, but I can speak for my constituency and for people in the city of St. Louis, victims of very, very violent crime. And, you know, justice is incredibly important to families of victims, and we're not delivering justice in the reliable manner that our victims deserve. And so I think we really need to revisit that. And you know, I called on the Circuit Attorney to consider stepping aside and having some additional support there so that we can deliver the justice that our victims deserve.
What does that look like, though? Because right now, under current law, if she steps aside, the Republican governor appoints a replacement.
Yeah,
Do you think the voters of St. Louis would be satisfied with that?
You know, that's a very complicated set of, we have a very complicated set of facts right now. I think we need some help within the Circuit Attorney's office. There's a myriad of ways we can do that, but it's clear that we're not delivering the justice that our families, quite frankly, deserve right now. And so bringing in some additional resources, I think, is key to moving through the rest of this term.
Real quick, a few questions about ward politics and the future of the Board of Aldermen. Mayor Jones wants to split up and carve up the way ward capital funds. Each member gets about $300,000. I suppose that would balloon to $600,000 or $700,000 a year under the new wards to use on improvements and upgrades in each of their wards. She says some of these wards have fewer people but more geography, longer roads, and so we need to change this. We need to make it more equitable. That measure failed at the Board of Aldermen when it came up, but they're back at it. They want to do it again. A lot of members aren't going to want to just give up money in their ward. Where do you fall?
Look, I stand firmly that we need an infrastructure long-term plan. And you know, the ward capital is a significant amount of money, but it's for everything from roads and bridges to parks to sidewalks and dumpster replacement. So really, it's a very small amount of money at the end of the day for what our neighborhoods need. What I want to see us do is look to other pots of money that we are generating, particularly the money that we generate on our roads, our parking revenue, which is very significant, and put that money into the infrastructure that we need to make our cities, our communities safer for pedestrians, for cyclists, and for motorists.
And pardon the question, I should know this, but that money now from parking revenue goes into general revenue? Or?
No, it does not. We are the only city in the nation, to my knowledge, that does not put its parking revenue into the general fund. We have an enterprise fund set up. It's a separate entity. We're an anomaly in the United States in that manner, and it needs to frankly break down because we need a real source of funds long term to invest in, not just 2-year investment injection of capital, but a long-term paving and restructuring plan for our city's infrastructure.
There is no bigger pot of money, or a few pots of money that are larger than the Rams settlement money, which is still yet to be spent. The Board of Aldermen have already spent their way through all of the American Rescue Plan Act funds, those federal pandemic relief funds. At the time, when you were running for mayor, you called that tranche of money something that could bring generational change. I think you said even a historic change that could change the course of the city's history. What potential do you see with this Rams settlement money, and where would you like to see that money go?
Well, I really want to see that Rams money spent now. I want to see exactly. You know, I think
on what?
Well, we have an enormous challenges downtown in North St. Louis. I want to see that money be put in to our communities in a transformational way. I want to see us promote and establish home ownership models. I want to see us solidify some of the infrastructure we need to spur development.
What does that look like, a loan, or does it look like a...
Well, one of the things I really pushed for in the mayor's race was stabilizing our housing, especially the city-owned parcels. Investing in them not only gets people into those houses, it increases our population, it increases our tax base, and it promotes the long-term viability of our historic housing stock here in the city of St. Louis.
All right, Alderwoman Cara Spencer, we could go on, but we have to leave it there for now. Thank you for joining us.